Okay, December 8th, 2023, old hick doctor from Oklahoma, Doc Ellis. This is from Fritz, California. It's a VA. Diagnosed with tinnitus, PTSD, and multiple issues were denied due to service connection. Even if it's stated in his files, come on. So you need to get your Nexus report from a doctor that knows how to do it. Now, don't go spend $5,000 and $10,000. Ellis Clinics charge $500 a condition, and don't let anybody take a piece of the pie. If you get an award or a disability, it's unethical to get a piece of that. That's your benefit. Okay, all right. So it's an export, and you need to start with somebody who knows what they're doing, because you don't ever go to the VA and hope the VA doctors know how to do this. They're not trained and they don't care. And I'm sorry, it's just Okay, all right. This is Stephen from Kentucky, VA. He's going to send me a whole bunch of stuff. Need Nexus letter. We'll do all that. Okay. Connection, weight gain, inactivity due to injury. Sure, that's easy. Even flat feet, because VA and federal workers' comp laws are very, very, very fair. The criteria, if it contributes just a little bit, it's 100% covered. Where like state workers' comp, it may be 51% needed to, okay, depends on what state. And then, of course, criminal law is beyond a shadow of a doubt. But if a white coat, based on their education and experience, the white coat, doctor, because you all need doctor, all these things, based on their education, experience, and training, says that it is, then it becomes medical evidence. Okay. A helicopter crash. Now, let me tell you about helicopter. Vertical decelerations, when you land hard, the back and spine is not made for vertical decelerations. You can be hit, you can be tackled sideways in football, but vertical spine's not, okay. So you see, you have this Social Security, PTSD, depression, sleep apnea, tinnitus. Okay. Just come in, we'll take care of it. It's easy. That's just a big long thing. You come in, we're going to take care of you, Stephen. All right. So here is Lawrence from Texas, 64, service-connected, 10% for tinnitus, 0% for hearing loss. Audiogram several weeks ago, and had a lot more hearing loss. Okay, now, you could only just send your audiogram to us, and we could do the math, because the VA does it differently. So this is if you're... So when you take an audiogram at the VA, be careful that you don't get defrauded. Now, this is the American Medical Association guides for doing evaluation for impairment. And they take all your numbers and they come up with numbers, okay? So I have a vet who has hearing aids. I'm yelling at him. He can't understand crap. And so he's got an audiogram. He's got 50% impairment under this, but under the VA system, he didn't have any because he had 96% speech discrimination. In other words, he can understand words. Well, that's not true. So what happens is they're supposed to take your audiogram, and then there's a CD-ROM. It's supposed to pronounce words. But I've heard of people saying the audiologist kept repeating it till I finally understood it. That's called fraud. And that's a felony. I think we're going to have to get some audiologists someday and get them to jail, and they'll stop doing this stuff. So this is what you do. You don't guess at the word. This is not an IQ test. If you don't understand the first time it's said, your answer is, I did not understand it. I will not guess at it. And then, ma'am, I didn't understand the first time. Ma'am, I did not understand it the first time. Ma'am, do I need to call the OIG? All right. But now, it's not uncommon, though, to have like a 20% hearing loss is number 6100. Tinnitus is 6260, okay? So you get tinnitus because that's just history. So you can have a 20% under the AMA guides and trill B 0 under VA. But you got a 0. You didn't get a denial. So you just go back to the VA. Don't come spend money with me. You just go back to VA and take their audiogram every year. Because because the average years out. Now, I'm deaf in my left ear, and I was a flight surgeon in the Army, and of course helicopters, and And I understand vets being reluctant to file. It took me 3 years of doing VA exams before I thought, oh, check my audiogram. Well, I was 20% impaired because I'm deaf in one ear. There's no averaging. I said, I'm filing for that, and I'm giving my wife that money and get her on Home Shopping Channel because she's the one that has to put up with being deaf. All right. And besides, if you're a Christian, you're supposed to obey the Emperor's Law. The Emperor's Law is if you have disability under service-connected, you're supposed to file for it. Now, you're going to fight it. It's just awful after you fight it because no one knows the law, and everybody fights you, which is, I would understand if it's Russia or China, but this is America because we're raised on the Bible and Superman comic books. Truth, justice, the American way. And so when the GOV screws you, it's a physical, psychological injury. It's family hurting you. You put your life on the line for these people, and then some asshole and some bureaucrat screws you. Okay. Migraines and insomnia. You got tinnitus. Migraines and insomnia are now covered. Okay? And if you have sleep apnea, tinnitus covers that too. All right. So you get $165 a month, get your real stuff. Okay. Dave, a VA from Florida, flying C-141s, and they're carrying all kinds of toxic chemicals. Whether you carry toxic chemicals or not, you don't remember that smell inside those. You're getting a lot of backwash from all that jet fuel and everything. You're in a chem lab, okay? So you're exposed to all kinds of hydrocarbons and the combustion products of burning fuels, okay? Plus all those chemicals. So that would be a lot like Agent Orange, okay? Because you're exposed to benzene and all kinds. Okay. Big sinusitis, rhinitis. So if it started in the service or soon after, that's covered. Diabetes too, could be. It might be a little harder. They accused to recognize the issues. You didn't have a Nexus report. A lot of you guys flying those things get sick. Sure you do. Do you think there's a class action lawsuit waiting to happen? Now, there are two ways that a condition is accepted to the VA. Like Agent Orange, people that had their arms this far and 55-gallon drums of that orange stuff, and then got cancers and all this stuff. But until we had epidemiological studies of a lot of people, could we say that is caused? That's epidemiology. The causes. There's lots of reports and everything. And then once that's approved, then it comes presumptive. So now, if you step 1 foot in Vietnam, you're 3 miles out in the ocean in a ship, it's covered. Now, obviously, it's not caused, but it's covered, it's presumptive. But before that, it's like burn pits. Burn pits have now been shown to cause all kinds of stuff, and now there are a lot of burn pits presumption. But before that happened, I would say when you inhale a hydrocarbon, like jet fuel or whatever's being burned in that pit, the lungs can't handle hydrocarbons. They can handle smoke and dust, and in high school you saw those black lungs. That's just carbon, like a tattoo. It's in the lymphocytes around the lungs. It doesn't hurt the lungs at all. But anyway, but we can't handle it. So I would say, if you have a child that ingests a hydrocarbon like jet fuel or gasoline, you don't give them Ipecac to have them throw up, because just that little whiff of that hurts the lungs. You let it go on through. Okay? And so if hydrocarbons are that bad, if you've been exposed to them, then your lung disease is covered. And upper respiratory tract. I mean, the mucous membranes can't handle hydrocarbons. They can handle dust and smoke, and because that's what they're made to. So, yeah, you got an 80% rating. Oh, that's probably going to be covered. Sure, it's worth taking a shot at. All right, here's Daryl. In 1982, prior to my discharge, hit by a car, hit-and-run driver. VA's not service connected. Well, must have been in your mind. Well, that's just bullshit. Of course, all that stuff that happened to that accident is covered. Okay, it's happened in the service. Now, if you're in the service for 20 years, you get hypertension, it's covered. It happened during the service. Doesn't even have to be caused. And now if it's caused by PTSD or tinnitus, or aggravated by PTSD or tinnitus or anxiety or whatever, then it's covered. Okay. Or if you had a rheumatic heart fever and had a heart murmur and they didn't pick it up on the physical, then we find it in the service, that rheumatic fever is covered. Do better physical, okay. Because you know what the physical is like when you came in, you're moving, you're hired. Okay, this looks like it's federal. I was awarded my claim, but unit refused to pay even when labor board is telling them to. I assume the labor board may be federal labor board, but it may be a state workers' comp claim. But you've got an awarded claim, so there's our ways to get people to pay attention. In federal workers' comp, what we would do, in federal workers' comp, you get to have your file. You get to look to it, you get to add to it. For instance, a claims examiner said, I left a voicemail, she didn't call back. She scanned her records, her phone records, said, no, you didn't. And then they caught him in a lie, and so he approved all the stuff. Or we can request a review of records, we can request a supervisor, or we can request an oral hearing. All right, and federal, once you get to the oral hearing level and the ECAB, Employee Compensation Appeal Board, there's no politics, very honest people, but you just don't give up. That's the thing. Don't give up. And just like in federal workers' comp and federal employees in retirement, that's very fair. If you can't do the job which you're hired, it's covered. It's not Social Security. No gainful employment. And for years, they followed the law. Then somebody a couple of years ago in the Boy retirement system, some person, probably just a person, said, we're going to fight all these like they're an insurance company. Well, that's not the law. So you win them. Okay. So this is from Pam from Texas. Filed for OWC and first. Can I file OWC and first disability retirement at the same time? Sure. In fact, OWCP may be a scheduled award, or maybe you're filing for a claim. Sure. Do them both the same day. Save your trip. Now, we charge for the first because but federal workers' comp, usually we don't charge for that because if depends on what it is, because it'll get approved and we can bill. Right? But you can get them both done the same day and not have to take 2 trips. But it's worth 2 trips.
It's funny, I heard you mention Epic, and the whole reason I know what Epic is because of YouTube.
YouTube, yeah, oh yeah, that's old. That dates me, okay. Yeah, I have to remember I mentioned Marcus Welby. Wait a minute, most people that I talked to were not alive during, but it was basically a family doctor.
There was some guy running around and asking people if they would drink it and if they could hold it down, he'd give them $50. And they were just
it's from the castor beans, like the castor oil. It's just, yeah. All
right, well, that's it.
That's it. Okay. God bless everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy Jesus' birthday. Okay. Thanks, Gary.